I wasn't planning on making this video. In fact, I'm pretty much never planning on making this video, but I had a thought, an energy, a feeling, and I wanted to go with it. What I kind of wanted to go over with this were a few feelings about creation, the creative act, making things, whether it's writing or painting or whatever sort of creative thing it is. I have been writing stories since I was about 8. I will be 28 next year, so decent little bit of my life I have sat behind keyboards and typewriters and pens and pads. I once wrote a whole novel out on pen and paper and then realized the absolute editorial nightmare that would be. I have no idea where that draft is, and it doesn't matter. What I wanted to talk about tonight was two things. Firstly, the idea of, I guess, the phrase, he made it, she made it, we made it, we did it, Rocky. Yo, Adrian, we did it! There's a certain idea in creative spaces, any spaces, life spaces, any space where you're going from a point of A to a point of ambition and trying to improve the level of skill you have to the point of where you make it. I think a better orientation, perhaps, is doing it. We're doing it. Not we made it, not we sold the record and 10 million people bought it and now we live in a mansion made of gold. But against all of the odds of existence, against all of the odds of the ridiculousness and the chaos and the madness that is life and being alive, you're doing it. You are creating something where once there was nothing, which I have famously heard touted as, only gods and artists do that, and mothers. Gods, artists, mothers create something where once there was nothing. And I suppose honoring that, because it can feel like a hard gig. I mean, this is I only have my own kind of personal experience to reflect back on with this. Of course, you can reflect on others' experience, but we reflect on our own the best. And for me personally, it has been a hard grind at some points, looking at the creative success that others have achieved and feeling as though the effort that I put in doesn't match what I get out. But I do get a lot out of it. I get an insane amount out of it. And I think that's enough. I really think that's enough. Now, don't get me wrong, it would be really cool. It would be so fucking cool if it got to some point, some years in the future, where I figure out the story things and make it or whatever. But really, that's not the important thing. The more important thing is the enjoyment of doing the thing. Jim Carrey talks about that. Does quite a good job of talking about that, I think. Ideally, I wish everyone could achieve all of the things that they want in their life to realize it's not what they wanted. And the hilarious irony of that. I guess it's creation for the sake of creation. Creation for the good of it, the joy of it, the love of it, and what it brings into your life. Not because it'll make you a famous artist, but because life is long. We need things to do, and making art, whether it's writing or painting or poetry or whatever it might be, is good. It adds beauty to the world, adds beauty to humanity, adds, I believe, a force of positivity, beauty, and wonder. That's the biggest thing. Kind of it, really. Those are the two things I wanted to talk about. One, kind of maybe rethink the way you think about making it creatively or ambitiously, whatever your ambition in life is. Perhaps be content with wins on a more human scale. It's only been the last couple of decades where the scale at which a human being can be known and can operate in the world has gone up so exponentially, and I don't think it's good for our brains. I think it can be quite damaging in some ways. I think in a lot of ways, wow, it's really cool, but I think it's there's definitely some unexplored or perhaps unacknowledged consequences of such incredible connectivity. And I think it's very difficult. It can be very difficult from an artistic point of view to think of that as success. It's like it used to be the case. I used to be big time into fitness. I still work out, but I used to do sports science, and I was very much into that world. And there was this idea, you see this thing in the magazines of where you see this jack dude, and people look at where they are and the guy in the front of the magazine, and they think, oh, this is A to B. That's not A to B. That's more like A to Z. There's there's shading between those 2 points of where is perhaps reasonable. Like what can you enjoy? What can you still have a good life and get to? I think is cool, is important. So I think that's one thing. Maybe you would be possibly happier if you redefine success as simply the doing of the thing and not the outcome of the doing of the thing, and whatever that domain is for you. The second part of that, which I kind of have already gone into, and I don't know how many of you have already lost and how many people are still watching, but you know what, for the two of you that do decide to continue watching this far and are interested in my ramblings, the last thing I wanted to say was this. Give me a second, it may take me a moment to articulate this perfectly. But essentially, what I'm doing right now, or what I was literally doing before I started filming this video, was reading through a draft version of a book I'm working on just now, which is stories, poems, and some essays I have written over the last couple of years. And I read this story, a story that I wrote maybe a year or two ago called Norman Price's Last Wish. If you get the book at some point, then you'll get to read the story. But the story made me cry. It brought up such emotion in me, and this is something I wrote. So it's not like, it's, even though it's been a while, it's hard to surprise yourself when you've sat and you've written the thing yourself. But it made me cry. And perhaps I'm tooting my own horn a little bit here. I feel I can. After 20 odd years of doing a thing, you get pretty good at it. And I remember hearing this thing when I was younger about how, just checking that's still on. Okay, cool. We're good. About how, people get into arts, they get into different creative things, they get into things because they have a certain amount of taste, and they can see what's good, they can see what's bad. And when you start and you're a beginner, you know what you're making and what you want to be making are perhaps worlds apart. It depends, I guess, on how you're wired. But for me personally, when I started writing stories, I knew there was a big gap between the level I was writing at and the level I wanted to be writing at. And now I write at the level if I have a sentiment, a feeling inside me that I want to express, I know I can put it down and that comes across. I can get the core of that, the heart of it. Pardon me. And that's a beautiful feeling. And that by itself, kind of what I was talking about in the first part of this video, about changing the way that you think about, oh, we made it. But that is really beautiful in and of itself. And life's fucking hard. And if you can capture that, and I think it's one of those things that perhaps only comes about when you've done something for a very long time and develop deep skill, deep domain mastery with it. And it really becomes it opens up this new facet of life. It just becomes this wonderful fucking thing. And I think everyone should experience that. I think the thing is that the only way you experience that is really to put effort into a thing and develop it, become really amazing at it. Yeah. Those are just some thoughts creatively. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have anything you'd like to add or share, you think I'm mental, or you'd like to read my book or whatever, just, you know what to do. You know how to use the internet. Peace.